Sports.
At Talk Real Estate Roundtable.
And the guy not in the matching red shirt and blue plaid shirt, that is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
To discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com.
Exclusive access. That was on Pitt Road.
8000.
Oh, great time.
Now,
that was
sit
a
back,
really nice
relax,
vacation.
Take good notes, and let's...
Oh, I was so excited!
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio by the one, the only, Sharon McNamara.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Have you missed me so?
I've missed you so.
Yeah.
I've let you know.
I know. I've been listening and tuning in and all of that. And yeah, I am really excited to be here live this morning with all of you. And of course, we have Tim in studio at WATD. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
And Tim had a wonderful vacation last week, and he was just sharing a picture with me. You might have caught a little bit of our conversation there. So, awesome picture.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Miles made it happen within 20 seconds. Like, we were there behind the trailer where they introduced the drivers, and all of a sudden I looked, I'm like, that's Dale Jr. And so Miles found someone to take his phone, and he said, hey, Dale, can we get a picture? And that was it.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome. And Miles is your...
He's a racing friend, we'll say. He has a great show, moved from Tuesday nights to Wednesday nights, Miles on Motorsports, 7 to 8 p.m., covers the NASCAR circuit plus the local tracks, too.
That's
Great
awesome.
stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. So, good morning to everybody. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Sharon McNamara. As you heard earlier, I am in studio this morning with Melissa Wallace. She is the Director of Operations and Broker Relations here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and she's been holding down the fort for me for the past couple, well, forever, but especially for the past couple weeks. I've just been going through some things that we've been taking care of on a family front, and so we're here today. We're going to be talking about a subject that we can't get into the details exactly of what brought this to the forefront, but it is something that is near and dear to us, is really protecting our clients and being that source for people and that resource for people to know when potentially maybe they're being scammed, and real estate scams are a big thing. This isn't a downer show. It's really just to give information and to let you know that this does happen. I was actually on Clubhouse this morning, as I am every morning, and I asked all of my friends there on Clubhouse if any of them wanted to join in and discuss some of the scams and things that they've heard of in their states and, where they work, to call in. So we might have some callers. If you are listening to us live this morning here, WATD, South Shore Neighbors, you can call us at the studio. Tim is in, and he will get you right over to us, 781-837-4900, and he will pipe you on over. So what do you think of this topic?
I think that there are a lot of scams. We just talked about this the other day and during the roundtable here at Boston Connect Real Estate. But yeah, there's a ton of scams, and we manage some. Well, not manage. We're like admins for some of these like connect pages down here on the South Shore on Facebook. And there's just so many even scams going around on that, like even real estate and like selling things. And it's just like we have to be super hyper like aware of those things. I'm a little distracted right now because I just realized that my temporary crown is missing. And I don't know where I don't know what happened.
Maybe
but
you swallowed it.
I think I might have. So now I'm
goodness.
like, what do I do now?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
All right, well, you can... Good thing it isn't your front tooth. I mean, I would have noticed right away, because then you would have been slurring your words and everything.
Yeah. So
we'll find it. Don't worry. I'll help you find that later. But for now, we are live on the show. Again, 781-837-4900 is the number that you can get in touch with us right away if you want to get live on the air with us. You can also find us on Facebook. You can just go to facebook.com/Boston Connect. That will get you over to our page. We will be monitoring that for any questions that you may have. And So I loved what one of the agents said. Her name is Anna, and she's been on the show with us in the past when we had a different topic. And one of the things that she said is be curious. And I loved that. And I think that that is really, really good advice for people, is to be curious when something sounds too good to be true. And I can't even say that, Mel, because I just feel like what you don't know, you don't know. And we're going to get into some of, the different segments that we have today and the different types of scams that there are. But I think that it's really important, and we've said this on numerous shows, that having a team, like when it comes to real estate. So having your real estate team, like one of the things that I will give myself credit for, and I don't give myself a lot of credit in a lot of things. Like I never boast or say, hey, I'm the best agent out there. And I never say any of that. I don't gauge success by numbers or how many houses I've sold. I gauge it by how happy my clients are. But one thing I will be boastful about is I have the best resources out there. And that comes to home inspectors, attorneys, who to reach out to in times of need, and knowing the right people to connect to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's super important to have a team, and I feel like we have the best one. And I'm just gonna say it.
You can say it.
We have the best, honestly. Yeah. Like, we've had some of our Boston Connect real estate agents on our show, and they're, always super knowledgeable about whatever it is that we're talking about. But, but even they are saying, like, we have such an amazing team. And I think that, did you talk about Matt Mahoney the other day?
Yeah.
So Matt Mahoney, who is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, he always tells all of his clients, hey, I have a whole team behind me. Like, we always hear that from him. And his clients are super comfortable with just knowing that you have 30 plus people in your corner.
Rooting for you all the time.
You.
And one of the things that I love about our office as well is we do these roundtables every Tuesday, and they're hosted by an agent every week, and it's just a topic that's brought up. And generally that topic is sparked from something that has happened in the industry or to them, or something that they heard while they were out there. And it's a really great way for us to all get together and just sort of brainstorm and roundtable about that topic. So we're just going to go through and we were made aware of something that we felt is unjust, and I'm not going to say specifically what it was because I can't, but we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things today that sort of prompted this for me. And again, you're listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable here on WATD and live on WATD, and our podcast is Talk Real Estate Roundtable. So today we're talking about real estate scams, and not only are we going to tell you about the scams, we're going to tell you how to protect yourself and to recognize them. So the first one we've had this happen. Yeah. So the first one that we're going to discuss is fake rental listings. So do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's essentially like somebody will post, and we're going to talk a lot about like social media because let's face it, like everybody's on social media and that's where they feel like they can sell things and scam people, really. So, someone might post like a fake rental listing that either isn't theirs, so it might actually exist, but they have nothing to do with that rental, or it's just non-existent, so they're just making it up. And they post about it, and there are people out there that are looking for rentals. So somebody might reach out to that person posting the fake posting and show interest, and usually the scammer, we'll call them scammers because they are, will ask for money
show me who you are and I'll believe you.
Yeah. So this was, are you talking about the condo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this came to our attention. How long ago was that?
That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago. Sharon had sold and resold the same condo a couple times, represented one side and then ended up representing two sides, and then they ended up selling again. But somebody had knocked on her door?
Yeah, it was actually brought to my attention, and I reached out to her because somebody had seen it, or somebody actually reached out to me
About renting.
about
One of your
renting.
other clients had reached out to you and
Yes,
said,
that's what
"Hey,
it was,
I'm really interested in this rental," and you were like, "Wait a minute, this
Yeah.
looks so familiar because I've sold it a few times."
Yeah, exactly.
So you reached out to your client who owned the condo and said, "Hey, are you renting your condo?" And she didn't know.
She had no
She had
idea.
no idea what you were talking about. The thing is that they used all of your professional
Mm-hmm.
photos, so it really did look like they were renting this condo. And I feel like the price was great that I would have rented it. Like I was like, oh, okay.
And that's how they sort of intimidate people,
Yeah.
and how, again, if it looks too good to be true, then it probably is. But another person that was on Clubhouse this morning, he used the word parasite. So these parasites will
Yeah.
use whatever,
But did they end up getting money from them?
So I think that a couple people did actually give money. So the way that this scam worked was that the scammer took my professional photos, put them online into Craigslist, and said that this was a listing, that it was for rent. Again, as Melissa said, my client that I was working with, helping her sell her house, came upon it and said, "Hey, I'd love to see this," which prompted to me. I also knew at the time my client was a snowbird, so that's why I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, are you renting your place?" Because it could have been possible, right? And what ends up happening is you get the phone number, and what the scam artist will say is, just meet me at the property, and I will meet you there. And then they come up with an excuse, so the person shows up at the property, and they'll say, "Oh, I got a flat tire," like right before the showing. "Hey, I got a flat tire. I'm not going to be able to make it there, but I have a lot of people who are interested in this. So if you want me to secure it with your name, you have to send me, 1,200, whatever the rent amount was." It was something very, very low. So
Yeah.
that's why I use that number. But 1,500 or whatever, send me first, last, and security, and we'll secure it for you. And that's exactly what was happening, and people were sending their money without even seeing this or meeting meeting somebody in person.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah. And that sort of, and you ended up getting interviewed, right?
Yeah.
For the news or whatever. And because it would, at that time, there were so many rental scams. So they had reached out to you and said, "Hey, we heard through the grapevine that this just happened to you." And it's not a reflection on us. Like,
we had nothing to do with it.
we had nothing to do with it. We're grateful that we caught it when we did. Unfortunately, there were some people who lost money in this scam, but the fact that, shame on them for using our professional photos, because that's sort of how it got all, put on our. Oh, do we have a caller?
Yeah, remember, I always think he has that same ring as my phone.
It's not your phone, it's the station phone this time. Yes. We have a long distance call all the way from Ontario, Canada. It's Dania Parker Smith. That's our state
Dania.
agent up there. Dania,
Yeah.
sorry.
Danya, yeah. Hello, Danya. How are you?
I'm good, Sharon. How are you?
I'm doing great. Am I saying your name okay? Help us out there.
Yep, just fine. Danya.
Danya. All right. So, Danya, first things first, I thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us, because you had such a really good example this morning. But let all of our listeners know who you are and the areas that you service in Canada.
Yeah, so I'm a realtor here in London, Ontario, Canada, which is southwestern Ontario, about 2 hours west of Toronto, southwest, and I actually specialize in relocation, and I actually work most of the southwest, so quite a large area. And I'm here in Ontario, and I have a YouTube channel people find me on. So if you're looking to move in and around the area, happy to help.
That's awesome. And we will make sure at the end of your example for us, we'll make sure that you get your information out there so everybody has your direct phone number to call you. And everybody who listens to the show, Danya, is that they all know that I only bring people and professionals onto my show that I have full confidence in. So if anybody is listening in Ontario, is in your wheelhouse, I don't know if there's a lot of vacation homes up there, if you're relocating or what the situation is. This is somebody that I would trust wholeheartedly. So at the end of her giving us an example, we'll certainly make sure that she gets her information out to you. So tell us what your example was this morning when we were talking about scams and things that happen. And maybe not even scams, but people be taking advantage of other people and how easily it can happen.
Yeah, so I have two quick examples for you. One of them was some clients that I had of mine, and their neighbor came to them and said, hey, I'd love to buy your home. You don't have to go through all the real estate. You'll save the fees. I'll pay you market value, and you can stay in the home and rent it as long as you want till you find a new home. So they purchased the home, and they got their money, and then they started looking for a new home, and they realized when they started looking for properties that they actually were several $100,000 under their market value, and they no longer had enough money to even purchase a one-bedroom condo in the city to live, and they had lived in a townhome, a nice townhome, and so they were stuck renting their old home while their neighbor owned it, and they couldn't afford anything else. And so it was incredibly sad that I was no longer able to find them a home because they just couldn't. COVID had impacted their finances and their retirement. They couldn't afford to take a mortgage. And, it's just sad how some people look like they have your best interest at heart, but they don't necessarily. So I think that leads me to my second type of thing, and that is, when people like that, they'll say, oh, we'll just do it through my lawyer. We will let him take care of everything, and you don't have to pay for the lawyers. I'll take care of that. And you don't have your own representation when that happens, and there's nobody looking out for your best interest because they're being hired by the other party. So, it's very sad, and it happens whether it's Canada, whether it's the U.S., it really doesn't matter. There's people everywhere. We have the same rental scams that you see there, happening here. And so I think it's very important for people to know that whatever you are going into some sort of a deal, you need to have your own legal representation, and you need to do your own due diligence and hire your own professionals to walk you through it.
And Dania, thank you so much for saying that, because that is, as we were talking this morning on Clubhouse too, is, the reason why I do these topics and these shows is because you don't know what you don't know, and everybody tends to be looking out for themselves. And, this situation with a neighbor going to another neighbor makes a lot of sense, right? Hey, I heard you were going to be selling your house. I'd love to be able to do this off market. I'll be able to save you, X amount of money because we're not going to be using realtors or that. And there's this level of trust that people have because, maybe you've been neighbors with this person for 20 years. What is some of your suggestions for people before they get into that? Like, what steps do you think that your client could have done differently in order to get, a better return on his, the equity that he had in his home?
Yeah, I think it's something that I tell everyone who comes across my path. It's never too early, and it's never a bad thing to start looking at the real estate market and understanding what the prices are around you and what's happening, right? Just tap into it however you can and speak to a realtor because you really don't know. And, I had some other clients who had one of those. We have them, we talked about a different name, but in here, Johnny buys houses, right?
Yeah.
And they buy their houses. And the same thing, we'll get it off market, same thing. And had they not spoken to me about purchasing a new home here in a different city, they would have never known that their values were completely different. And I just said to them, look, this is the stuff that you need to be aware of. I'm not looking to sell your home, but I want you to be aware of it. And, I think that people just need to do their due diligence, watch the market. There are many sites out there nowadays where people can access the sold prices and the asking prices and the days on market. And I think that if you're planning on doing that, outside of connecting with a professional real estate, just start doing your due diligence and understanding what's happening in the market, because if you don't understand what's happening, you will be a victim.
Yeah. And, one of the things as we're talking right now, too, is I come up with these ideas all the time, but we talk all the time in Clubhouse about, actually, I just saw one of our full-time agents here at the Boston Connect Real Estate walk into the room, Kristen Hallett, and she's on Clubhouse every morning as well. And she's taking a lot of the tips, too, and doing a CMA a day and going back to her past clients. And those are the people that I can touch, you can touch, she can touch. But I think that if you are listening and you feel as if you don't just go onto a website that will give you an automatic number of what the value of your home is, because those are not accurate. You need a professional to go in there to look at your upgrades, to look at the condition of your home. I find when I'm doing CMAs for people, and for those who don't know what that means, comparative market analysis, sometimes they're surprised at how much the value of their house is actually worth. So I think that reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, this is a free service, by the way. For me, it is, Dania. I'm assuming for you, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, anybody can go out there and get an analysis done. And, I know, too, this is one of the things, too, so I don't know that our reach will get to any of your clientele up there that wants to sell, but potentially anybody here who wants to purchase in that Ontario area. That's something, too, that Dania would do for you, too, so you're not, from a buyer's perspective, she's looking at the market, she's looking at what the value of the house is, and she's making sure that you're not overpaying, because it could go both ways, even though I sort of sidetracked a little bit there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are do you have any other tips that you would give to people who, I know what I was going to say. I go off track a little bit sometimes, but every year there are certain things that we do for maintenance in our house, right? So every year, a couple times a year actually, we're changing the batteries in our smoke detectors. We're doing home maintenance on our boilers and our furnaces and things like that. I think that everybody should put in their list of things that should be done every year is to get a market analysis done of their home, and go back to your agent or find another local agent if you're, relocating, and just do that every year, so at least you have an idea. So if your neighbor does knock on the door and say, hey, I'm willing to give you $500,000 for your house, you can say, well, even just last year it was worth $8. I think that that's a great idea, don't you think?
I think it's amazing. And for agents, you need to keep in contact with your clients, really, because I just had an incident that happened recently. My clients messaged me. They said, hey, I want you to sell my house. And that was great. I went down and I did I did the analysis with them. We talked about it. I sent them the paperwork, and all of a sudden there was a pause. And then some friend said, oh, you need to speak to another realtor. You should never just trust one. So they spoke to another realtor who gave them an exorbitant price that was well over the market. And then some other agent knocked on their door and told them they could do something that was absolutely impossible to do with their property. And, had I not had that relationship with them from the first time I sold their home to them, they may have walked down a path where they were very much just waiting for their home to sell and not getting the results that they wanted. So, that home went up and went down in 2 days in a market that wasn't selling like that. So, I think people understanding and staying in contact with their agents. And agents, if you are listening, you need to keep in contact with your clients. You don't have to be at their doorstep every day, but you need to remain present in their life, because if somebody knocks on their door, if they get a letter in the mail from some person that wants to buy their house for cash, and they are maybe in a situation where they're financially strapped and they're up at 2 a.m. and they're reading their mail, right? And they're, oh my gosh, this is going to be the solution for me. Mm-hmm. That's just not the way it needs to be. Talk to your agent. Like we said, we do analysis for free. We do so much stuff for free for people, right? Mm-hmm. To help them. We truly are service-oriented people. And if you find those people and you stick with your agents that actually will walk you through that, you're not worried at the end of the day about paying a commission, because that person's got your back all the way along. And some things are worth the money. And usually homes sell for more when the realtor is the one marketing it. So
100%. That's a NAR statistic, actually, that when you sell your house with a realtor, you are actually getting more. That's with commission even included. So, and because besides that, we know how to negotiate, and we know how to get not only the most amount of money for you, but the best terms and conditions for what your needs are. And especially Dania, is that Dania, I'm going to say it wrong and over again in my head, because I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong. So, but especially, you started out with saying you're a very strong relocation agent.
Yeah.
So, you're there for people that are relocating, and that is fast and furious. So you want people to make good decisions and not based on emotions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the value that we bring, I mean, it is a never-ending value that we should be giving this value to our clients after we've sold the home to them. And I think another thing that's really important, and again, sort of another topic for another day is, and I have this happen all the time, I have clients who call me and say, hey, Sharon, I'm thinking about doing this to the house. I'm thinking about doing that to the house. What are your thoughts? And, I love to go over and talk to them and talk it through with them. And it's like, well, instead of doing this basement, I think maybe you should, do the cosmetic updates that are necessary in your bathroom or things like that.
Yeah.
So, and that will
Yeah.
help you stay fresh. The other thing too is when your neighbor knocks on your door and suggests that they buy your house, if you got diagnosed with an illness, you would certainly go for a second opinion. So just don't take that response from your neighbor to be what it is. Just say, hey, I really appreciate that. I'm going to get in touch with some of, the professionals in the industry. So, Dania, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Did you have any other final thoughts or tips or anything that you want to give to our listeners today?
Yeah, I was just going to say, your home is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make into yourself, and why would you treat it as if it was a common pair of jeans that you would sell on Marketplace on Facebook? I think you need to dig deeper into what it is, because many times it's your investment for the future. So thanks so much for having me today, Sharon.
Thank you. And again, let everybody know who you are, where you are, and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I am based out of London, Ontario, Canada. You can find me at sellinglondonwithdania.ca. You can look me up on YouTube on living in London, Ontario, Canada. That's about how you can find me. There's a plethora of ways just looking up my name online. So, yeah. So as we all know, we're everywhere as realtors. But thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to chat with you today. I think you have a valuable service that you provide to your community, and I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. And as other topics come on, I'd love to have you back. And to all our listeners, if you are thinking about relocating to that area, I think that you would be doing yourself a very good, or you'd be doing a disservice if you didn't call her. So, and you can listen to the show over again to make sure that you get her number. So thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. So again, that was Dania, and she is from London, Ontario area up in Canada. So again, that's the other thing too. We talk about having these resources with people all the time, and being able to reach out even if you want to go to another country. I got a girl for that. So good morning to Kristen Howlett.
Hi.
How are you? I saw you come in. Did
It's
you
a
think
little
that
impromptu.
yeah. Did you think I was going to let the day go by without you joining us? So we have a lot of, some Clubhouse friends joining us today. So I thought that, hey, since you're a Clubhouse fan, I would pull you in.
What are we talking about?
So today we're talking about real estate scams.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a good one. And we were just talking to Dania, and she was bringing up the fact that she was familiar with somebody that the next door neighbor knocked on the door and offered to purchase the house. And it was, after they sold it, she went to buy another house, like she was helping them buy a house, and unfortunately didn't have enough money to even buy another house. And they ended up having to rent their own house back from their neighbor. Yeah, crazy, right? And this is what, we're a resource, and we're saying right now, just be curious.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Anna said that this morning,
Yeah.
and I love it. Just be curious and ask the right questions. So, and again, I think that you really have to be on your toes when it comes to all this. So, yeah.
Yeah. You don't know unless you ask the question. I always say
100%. And did we talk about how we have a certain sweet demographic that tends to trust people?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can talk about that. I mean, that's, there's a demographic of seniors who are very trustworthy, and they don't know. And especially, I would say that they are the easiest to sort of pull one over on. And it's sad to me because, first of all, a lot of them paid, $17,000 for their house 50, 60 years ago. You know what I mean? So for them to think that, what do you mean my house is worth $500,000?
Yeah.
Somebody offered me $3 and I'm happy to take it, So I do think it's important that we are in touch with that demographic.
And I'm thinking of that demographic. Maybe they've been in the house for a long time. Maybe they're widowers. Maybe they haven't upkept, and they're just a little bit, hesitant to put their house on the market or have somebody come in. So if the right person came along and offered them what they thought was a fair price, I could see them jumping on it.
And that is something that we actually were discussing this morning too, and on Clubhouse, was that sometimes people are embarrassed or ashamed, and that's why these little postcards that you get in the mail where buying your home, those little postcards, they're embarrassed of the condition that it's in, and it just seems like an easier way for them to get out from under it. So I think that that's what's really important as us as professional real estate agents, that we're not there to judge, we're there to help. Right?
Yes.
Love it. Yeah.
You guys
So
keep
true.
looking at me, and I'm like, I feel like you guys are having this conversation. But yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like I said earlier, there's just so many scams going around in social media, but also like people are picking up the phone again, and they're doing it over the phone. Because with seniors, like, they're not necessarily on social media and on the internet and all that stuff, but they're still answering their landlines. They're still answering cell phones, and they're definitely getting scammed. And again, if anything like sounds or feels a little off, it probably is.
Agreed.
And that goes with anything in life.
So I have a quick little, it's along the same lines, but I, as an added service, my past couple of sales, I've helped my sellers sell things on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, yeah, that you have to be careful with that, too.
So, and I think I'm pretty savvy, and I think I'm pretty on top of things, but it was, so typically how it works is they have some things they want to sell. It happened that my client didn't have Facebook, so I'm like, oh, I'm happy to help. I took some pictures, posted it. Within a few minutes, it was something that we really wanted to sell, to just not have her worry about moving it. And within seconds, I got a text, a response from somebody who looked trustworthy. And it was, hey, Kristen, blah, blah, blah. Now, I want to buy it, but I need to make sure, like, I need to protect myself. So immediately it came up that I'm going to send you a code. And honestly, it happened so quickly, because when you're texting somebody and then the code comes up, and I clicked it. Like, here's your safety code, comes up, and you click it. And immediately I knew that it was wrong to do, and I panicked.
Oh, geez.
And it's a Google, it's way more complicated than I would even know to explain, but it has something to do with, they try to get your Google Voice app so they can use your phone to scam other people. But I was worried that they were going to get my Google. I mean, everything in my life is on my Google account.
Yeah.
So I immediately had the wherewithal to shut it down, cancel it. Google was no help.
Yeah.
And it ended up, it was fine because I didn't take that extra step. But now I'm like, all right, bring it on. Yeah, you want to? And now I'll say, if I help other clients, I'll say, I'm only going to do this with real people. I'm not going to respond to spam ads if, I kind of vet them before I do anything. So that's important too.
Well, and that's another thing that you bring up. I mean, with Facebook Marketplace, and I recently did this, and I just put it on like some of our Facebook pages. And because I'm the admin on those, people were like messaging me in the back end, and I was able to go through that. But, it's actually very scary if you are a homeowner and you're doing this and you're letting people know that you're moving.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably
So
not
that's
a
why
good thing to
that's
do.
why it was good for me, and it's good for them. And it is, I thought afterwards, it is an added service because I'm not telling them the address. People are like, oh, so I'm the agent selling for my client. They don't know the address. They don't know anything about it. And it's not until I get a good feel for them that I'll say, okay, and I check with my seller. Are you okay with me? Do you want to meet at a neutral spot? Do you want to, make sure you get the Venmo first, and then, we take it from there, but
Cash only.
cash only.
Cash
Yep.
only. And that is a good point, though, is that if you're going to try to sell something, a lot of times some of the pieces are heavy, right? So if you had a huge hutch, you're not going to say, okay, I'm going to meet you in the parking lot of the police department or Stop and Shop.
Right.
You're going to say, okay, I'll meet you at the house. Make sure that you're bringing somebody. But I'm thinking about some of my clients right now, elderly clients, and they're so trustworthy and would never think that anybody would do anything to harm them. But I mean, what a good way to open up your house to a complete stranger that is then going to take advantage of the situation, right?
Yeah.
hopefully not bring harm upon anyone, but those things happen. But also scam you into something else, like, oh, that piece would be nice. That piece, could I have this? Could I have that? That's a really good point, and I didn't even think about that. To all our listeners, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Sharon McNamara. I am here along with my sidekick, Melissa Wallace. She is the Director of Operations and Broker Relations here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and she is my co-host. And I am also with Kristen Howlett, who is a full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect and the self-proclaimed Director of Community Engagement.
Community outreach.
Community outreach. Okay, so she outreaches and engages. And we're just talking about real estate scams. And I know it's scary, but we just want you to be curious.
This is such a good topic.
It really is.
Have you done this before?
No.
I like this one.
Maybe a long time ago when it happened.
When that happened, yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, so Kristen, you were on the show with me on Tuesday, so you can go to talkrealestateroundtable.com or go to your podcast app, wherever you listen to a podcast, and type in Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and you can listen to our show about 55 plus communities. I got a lot of great feedback last night. Somebody came up to me and was like, I was listening to your show on Tuesday and I thought it was so interesting, because they are at that age where they might be considering a 55 plus community. So it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
me, wealth of knowledge.
Any other feedback from that? You're just like, yeah, it was a great show.
So I took a mental health day yesterday with my daughter, and I was going to have a day that I just sat here and did the grind, but that's why I'm here this morning. But this is a nice,
We love having you. Kristen is my fill-in all the time. She is always there for me, and I appreciate that. One of the ones I want to talk about is let's stay on that same vein of the neighbor as Dania was talking about. Dania, I'm going to say it wrong all day long. I'm sorry, Dania. The next door neighbor. But, if somebody pops back into your life and just says, hey, we're really interested in purchasing your home, make sure, again, I just want to reiterate, just make sure that you are getting an analysis done by a professional and never say yes to anybody. And one of the things that I was thinking about too is, that older boomer generation and the seniors that we're worried about, they also don't want to be a burden to their children because they see, look, you have a full life. You have 3 kids. One just graduated from college. 2, one is in college. One is being recruited for college. You have a lot going on. And our parents recognize that, and they don't want to be a burden. And they make these decisions without consulting anybody who has their back or who really cares for them. So definitely, if you don't have your children to reach out to, when I'm meeting with these clients, I always say, do you want to bring a family member with you? Because I want everybody to be on the same page. But don't sign any document. And for the love of Mary, realize anything that you sign, don't trust anybody as much as you think I can always trust this person. Just politely say, I would like to have an attorney review this.
And am I wrong in saying that if you reach out to someone, whether it's us or someone that you trust in the real estate world, any reputable attorney will do a consultation for free,
100%.
even just a question. So an attorney, I'm thinking of what else would have an attorney, but even an appraiser.
Yeah.
You can always have an independent appraisal done. It's not a lot of money considering what you may think that your house is worth and what it actually is worth could be on 2 ends of the spectrum.
2 completely different things. And that's why I always say too is, if somebody's coming to you and they have representation with an attorney, you should always have representation with an attorney as well. I feel like you always should anyways, but definitely in circumstances that some that we're aware of, you definitely want to make sure that you do have representation. One of the other ones I want to talk about is the escrow wire fraud.
Oh, God.
I know. So on the bottom of our emails, we put, wire fraud is a real thing. It's in red. Like, we will never ask you to transfer money or to do anything like that. But we've had a couple of situations.
Oh, this gives me such a stomachache. It really does.
And I can't even believe that it happens. And we may have mentioned this on the show one other time, is that one of our agents, she was the buyer's agent, and it just happened that the listing agent of that, she's the broker owner of a small firm too. She just happened to be in our office for something, and Mel and I were here, and she's like, wow, what a terrible situation that happened with, with that. And I was like, oh, I'm not aware of it. Like, what happened? So agents of ours had clients, and they were at the home inspection. The listing agent was there, and they wanted to wire the money. And she said, we don't accept wire. He was an attorney. Okay. The buyer was an attorney. This is how quickly and easily it can happen to anybody.
And they live their life doing wires. So that's to be said. It's to them, it's a very safe, and it normally is a very safe process.
Yes.
Right.
And they got, they had to have a check, and they gave the check, and I think it was a bank check, by the way, for the second deposit. And what was it, like 40 or $60,000? I remember it was a round number. So, because it was a high-priced home, right? So let's just say 50 in the middle, okay? $50,000 for a second escrow deposit. And they gave the check to the agent. The agent gave it to the listing agent. Well, this person got a text message that said, or an email, here's the wiring instructions for your second deposit. And lo and behold, they went through the process. And as soon as he sent send, he thought, why did I do that? The money was gone. The money was gone. Nothing they could do to get that back.
Right. And wasn't it, it turned out to be an elaborate email scheme
Yep.
that we get a lot of times. It's funny on our end too. That's why we have errors and omissions and all of that. And you have to be safe with your email, how you correspond with your clients. But it was something that they were able to tag certain words in the email, and they overtook the thread.
Yep.
And it looked like, so that's another thing. Everybody, whenever you get an email from somebody, get in the habit of hovering over the email address and make sure that it's Sharon at bostonconnect.com, Kristen at bostonconnect.com, and not,
Yeah, they'll do
Sharon, it's some crazy,
They'll do Sharon.bostonconnect at AIE.
Yep, and it's not even just real estate. It's anything. Amazon. Don't give your Amazon password unless you hover over and it's something customer service at Amazon.
And you can see how easily this could happen, because when you're in an email chain and you're just doing reply all, reply all, reply all, you're not really paying attention, and you're thinking it's coming from these players. Now, we had the situation, this was probably it had to have been, we're at the other office, so it had to have been probably 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. We had a transaction. Mary and I were the listing agents, and we had an overage for our seller in the amount of, it was over $100,000. We had the check actually from the attorney. We weren't holding it. It was over $100,000, and the seller called us and said, I just want to, Mary, I'm on my way to pick up the check. How did this all happen?
No, so somebody wanted the funds to be wired instead, but we already had the check. So the attorney called Mary and said, Mary, I can't wire you the funds. I already wrote you the check. And Mary was what are you talking about? So somebody was impersonating Mary and wanted the funds wired to us as Boston Connect Real Estate, but really we already had a check in hand. So,
and that's one of the things too, is sometimes it's frustrating. Even the amount of, we have our IT person working on our email because we're getting so much scam. And I asked him the other day, what the hell is going on? Why does this keep on happening? He goes, it is just rampant. It's everywhere. And we have the highest controls on our emails, and they're still getting through. But some of those old, Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, some of those. Yeah. And we had, as soon as that happened and we realized what was happening, we called our IT person, and he logged in, and he was able to trace it back to actually it was either the attorney or the other agent.
Yeah, the attorney for the buyer was using an AOL account, and they were hacked, but somebody was impersonating Mary. So it was Mary.Baker, or it was Mary at BostonConnect dot something or whatever. It was just not her email. It was just it's just a very slight difference that nobody like sort of thought anything of it. But we always say like it's important to get everything in writing, but also pick up the phone, because if they had only communicated through writing, then possibly something could have happened. But the fact that the attorney was like, "What are you talking about?" Picked up the phone and was like, "Hey, like I can't do that." And Mary's like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So the attorney, the entire transaction, thought that they were talking to Mary back and forth, but they weren't. They were talking to this person who was in some other country.
And the thing is, like you just said to start it, if an attorney who does this every day can be scammed, I mean, these people are good at what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And they know what they're doing, and it's not, for someone, it's not foolish. I had a client who fell for one of those, "Grandma, it's me. I'm in, jail. I need you to scam."
Jail,
yeah, but she fell for it. It sounded like him. It everything pointed to, and she was so embarrassed, but she also was furious and ended up going after them, and she won.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like through American Express or something that she did, but she ended up, she got duped.
It really is. It's just so scary. And that these people, like you said, they're professional scam artists. So I know on Clubhouse this morning, we had a bunch of people and they were going to call in and they said they would if they could, but it seems like maybe everybody got a little busy what they were doing. But, we have so many other examples. So maybe, Mel, do you want to continue this topic on Tuesday? Because I know we have a lot of public service announcements that we want to make as well.
Yeah, we could definitely do this on Tuesday. So we'll do part 2.
Part 2 on
Scams
Tuesday.
part 2 on
This is a
Tuesday.
good one.
Yeah, so to all of our listeners, if you have any questions for us for the last 5 minutes that we have here, 781-837-4900. We'd be happy to take your calls. And I know, Mel, we have a lot of open houses today that are going on with Boston Connect Real Estate Agents. So do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so Sam Horton, who is Mary's husband, has a new listing. It's 358 Hillberg Ave in Brockton. He is doing an open house today and tomorrow from 10 to 12. It's on the market for $539. That just went on the market maybe 2 days ago. So cute. Did you see the picture? So cute.
I sent it to buyers. It's a great house.
It is a great house. Again, 358 Hillberg Ave in Brockton, 10 to 12 today and tomorrow. That's Sam Horton's listing. All of these listings are on our social media and our website as well, so bostonconnect.com and Boston Connect Real Estate on Facebook and Instagram, so if you want to go and look at those too. Sue Bollinger, who is just here blowing up her balloons, she is at 24 Barker Square, Unit 24 in Pembroke. That has a new price of $530. She's going to be there from 11 to 1 today.
And that's a wonderful 55-plus development.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen Barker Square before, definitely go over and see Sue this morning. Those are wonderful.
Yeah, I visited her maybe 2 weeks ago at her open house. So cute in there. I would live in there. I'm too young, but we talked about this on Tuesday. I'm only 32, but I would definitely live in there. It's nice. And I know some people who live in there and they love it. Lori Reaney has a new price over on 20 Newell Street in Scituate. It's in Hummerock. 11 to 1 today. It's now on the market for $775. Again, 20 Newell Street in Scituate. It's 11 to 1 today. Kate Fisher has a listing over on 8 Silverwood Road in Pembroke. She is going to be there from 1 to 3 today. That is on the market for $799, $999. And, of course, Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater from 11 to 3 today and tomorrow. But also, Mary is going to be over on 25 Ledgewood Drive in Duxbury tomorrow from 11 to 1. And that has a new price of $998.
Yeah, we just took a significant price adjustment on that one. So we were on for 1-1, which was extremely worth the house. You love the house.
Love the house.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But we did just take a price adjustment and a pretty significant one. So we're down to $998. But the home is beautiful. So if you want to be in Duxbury, close to the highway.
I was just going to say that my favorite part of that is hopping right on the highway.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're near the highway, but you're super close.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so convenient.
Also, I will say that Kate Fisher, who is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, again, she's going to be over at 8 Silverwood Road today from 1 to 3. She is in partnership with South Shore Realtors and Neighbor Works Housing Solutions, and they are sort of raising awareness for children who might miss out on celebrating their birthdays. I personally donated to this, and they have, if you go to bostonconnect.com, you can find Kate's information there, and they are sort of, they have an Amazon wish list for, kids here on the South Shore that are sort of have been missing out on having birthdays. So it's like birthday supplies. It's not necessarily gifts for them, but it's like, everything to make a cake, everything to have the sort of birthday party. So I thought that was
I
great.
love that our agents are always giving back. I mean, you should be so proud as the director of community outreach.
So proud.
So we will be back here on Tuesday. I'm not sure if I will be there. I have a very busy week next week. So maybe Kristen will be here. Melissa for sure
See
will
how
be.
she did that?
And Tim, thank you as always. I appreciate you and so glad that you had a wonderful vacation.
Thank you. You too.
And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So I hope that everybody has a great day. You can get in touch with us at bostonconnect.com, 781-826-8000. And Kristen, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, a phone, 617-448-4896.
One more time.
617-448-4896. Kristen at bostonconnect.com.
Perfect. And do you know how to reach all of us at bostonconnect.com? Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Let's make the